I work with a hockey team and have had many instances of players taking a hit and coming off with reports of getting their bell rung. They express concussion symptoms such as dizziness and headache, but report that it has resolved completely within a matter of a few seconds or within a few minutes. They test normal on the SCAT test, which is a sideline concussion assessment tool, and they have no other signs or symptoms. Is this an automatic removal from play, or should I put them through concussion protocol and suspect concussion because they reported, some concussion symptoms? So this happens, and it's actually, there's a reason behind it. So when a concussion occurs, it's due to acceleration, deceleration of the brain within the skull. And when you have that acceleration and deceleration, if you have enough acceleration, deceleration, you actually get the brain cells to stretch and then come back together, and kind of the brain kind of jiggles around a little bit. And when it's jiggling, you get a stretching of brain tissue. That stretching, if you think about an individual little axon, it's porous. There's little kind of holes throughout it. And when it gets stretched, those holes also get stretched and opened. When those holes get stretched and opened to a significant degree, you're going to get the ions that are inside that neuron and the ions that are outside of that neuron to exchange, right? So then you're going to get depolarization. You're going to get an excitatory type of reaction. So you're going to get the impact that causes the stretching and shearing of the brain tissue, which then causes those brain cells that are involved to become excited. And so there's the first phase of concussion is called the excitatory phase. And this is basically an electrical storm that happens. Brain gets hit, gets stimulated, and away it goes into this electrical storm, chaotic firing. This might cause the person to see stars, right? You're not actually seeing stars. What it is it's random discharge of neurons within, the visual pathways. Whether it's the occipital cortex or throughout the visual system, you get this discharge. So people might see stars. You may get ringing in the ears. You may feel off balance. It depends on where in the brain those cells are affected. So you get this immediate, boom, electrical storm starts to occur, okay? That little electrical storm that happens is very short in duration. You don't really know how long it lasts, but it could be anywhere from a few seconds to a few minutes. And then it calms down, right? If you think about it, almost think about it like a seizure almost. You have this immediate electrical storm, chaos. Oh my God, I have a headache, I'm dizzy, I'm off balance. And then it subsides. And then you go, no, I think I'm okay. I think I'm fine. So this is the phenomenon that happens. You're a sideline therapist. You're watching the game. Player gets hit, stands up, off balance. You're going, okay, this guy has a concussion. Bring him off, sit him down. How are you feeling? Yeah, I'm really out of it, feeling really dizzy. Okay, just hang out there for a few seconds. And then next thing you know, they're saying, no, I feel okay now. I feel back to normal. And that's because that little excitation phase has now calmed down. But you should still be holding that person out. And the reason is because there's another phase of concussion coming. There's other reasons, and I'll talk about that too, but there's another phase of concussion. The second phase of concussion is because of all that firing, you actually start to burn a lot of energy. So with that excitatory phase, you're going to have this ion exchange, right? In order to reset the ions back to where they were previously, you need to use ATP, or energy. So that energy molecule is being used and burned up. So you're burning energy to try and restore the balance of those ions back to where they were before the injury occurred. Now at the same time, because of that excitatory phase, you have this molecule called glutamate that gets into the cell and brings in calcium. Calcium gets into our mitochondria, which is what produces our ATP. Calcium makes it so that our mitochondria are not producing ATP. So now we have a situation where we've created an ion imbalance. So we have to restore the ion imbalance. So we need ATP. We need a lot of it. But at the same time, we've created a problem where we're not producing as much. So they might have an immediate onset of symptoms that goes away right away. But the second phase of concussion, which is called spreading depression, is an energy mismatch. So your energy levels start to plummet. So even they might feel better on the bench, sitting there for the first few minutes. But guess what? A few hours later, their headache's going to come back. They're going to start to feel more symptoms coming on, and they're going to get worse over the next few hours to days, because that energy level just starts to drop and drop and drop and drop, because we're burning more energy than we're creating. So that's the energy mismatch. A secondary issue is that if you let that person continue to play, if they say, well, my symptoms are okay, I feel okay, I'm going to go back and keep playing, and if you let them do that, the issue is that it increases body temperature. So the research on animal studies has found that if you keep body temperature elevated after a concussive impact, the amount of glutamate that gets released is even higher. If that glutamate level is even higher, you have more calcium, which means you've messed up the mitochondria even more, which means that your ATP function is even less. And now the injury takes longer. And they've actually established a dose response where people that continue to play in the same game for under 15 minutes, or people that are removed immediately versus people that played for less than 15 minutes versus people that continue to play for more than 15 minutes. And there's a dose response. Those that are removed right away, right, their body temperature comes down and they recover faster. People that play for less than 15 minutes, they recover faster than people that ended up playing for 15 minutes or longer, but they didn't recover as fast as those who were removed right away. And the theory on this, at least in my mind, is probably due to this glutamate release. You get hit, you have an excitatory phase, you have a huge release of glutamate because of the excitation. The glutamate then opens up calcium channels, which draws calcium into the cell. Calcium gets into the mitochondria, and we can't produce energy. At the same time, we're burning a lot of energy. So there's an energy mismatch. Now, if you keep playing in that scenario, you have elevated body temperature, increased glutamate, worsening of your ATP production, and you end up having a longer and more prolonged recovery. So it's kind of a twofold process. So, and that's why I called this episode the 2 phases of concussion. So if you're on the bench and you're managing somebody and they get hit and they display any signs and symptoms of concussion, that's a concussion. I don't care what their SCAT score says. SCATs, has reliability issues to it as well. So if they get hit and they have any type of symptom of concussion at all, you're pulling them out, and it's a concussion until proven otherwise. Even if their symptoms go away within a couple minutes, doesn't matter. The injury's already happened. And that drop in energy is coming. It's just not there yet. Okay? And by holding them out, you're exponentially increasing their recovery. By allowing them to go back and play, you're not only risking them getting another injury in a vulnerable state, but you're at the very least prolonging their recovery. All right? Hope that makes sense. So, back to the old adage, when in doubt, sit them out.